Hey, what is going on, Cowboys Nation? What's going on, Star Gang affiliates? It's your guy, Nix. It's that boy, Matt O. And we are here to break down day one and all the hype, all the letdowns, and to let you know that Nahshon Wright is going to go to the Pro Bowl this year. Matt O, what you got, man? How you doing, brother?
I mean, I'm doing good. I'm excited because we are starting out with the Hall of Fame game, and I think they're just going to hand Wright his jacket right there. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen.
Man, just go ahead and give Nahshon Wright his gold jacket. It is what it is. The hype level has reached extraordinary levels. We kind of talked about it before, as far as what he did in rookie camp and mini camp, or like, hey, just wait, just chill. And then day one, was it 3-4 pass breakups, interception? The highlights are there. If you're a Stargang affiliate on Facebook and you're in the group, definitely shared a bunch of the videos today and whatnot. Pretty funny stuff. Funny, and we're hyped, right? The Kool-Aid is dripping. Right. The Kool-Aid's dripping. We're all over it. And man, it's super exciting time. It's the honeymoon season, Matt. It's the honeymoon season. What's going on?
Joseph, we are 4 minutes in, sir. It's entirely too early for that level of hatred.
Oh, he must be on the 151 out there.
Gotta do better.
He must be on the 151 in Puerto Rico already. Right. He has to be. But
I appreciate you tuning in nonetheless, man. And shout out to everyone. I'm excited to have you guys on. I wanted to do something really quick. I haven't done it. We'll see if this works. I tried to share the screen. Can I show something really quick? I want to show a quick little segment of Keanu Neal so people see how big he is. Can we try it?
Here's the thing. If you got the go-ahead, then by all means do it. I don't know if you can do it because I didn't add you in.
It's on Twitter. I shared it. I don't know if you can see it.
Hit that.
Do you see it?
Didn't see what you... No, I don't see it.
You don't see the tab down here saying my screen's shared?
No, I'm looking.
Nothing?
Yeah, I'm looking. Wait. No, I got it. There you go, Matt. Get to it. Get busy.
Is it full screen?
It is now.
All right. I want you guys to pay attention. First off, shout out to number 4 right here, Dak. Let's look at how monstrous Keanu Neal is right now. He's going to be number 42. You'll see him in a second. Let's go ahead and just play it live, and then we'll go back in a second.
All right, do it. Hit it.
All right. So Neal's right here. This is Jaylon Smith, and you're going to see Odigizua in just a second. Look how big this dude is. Look at this.
Yeah, he beefed up.
Look at him, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
this is a guy, like, if you didn't know he was drafted as a safety, if I just told you he was a linebacker, I mean, he looks the part.
Boom.
Dude's huge.
There it is. Boom.
Nice play, first off, but look at him.
Yeah,
he's huge. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, look, and there's a lot of interesting things to happen. Anything you got something, throw it up there. I'll see it on the bottom. I'll put it up on the screen there, Matt. Something we've talked about a long time here on the page and on the group of different casts is like, hey, because a lot of people was asking this and talking about when it comes to Neal, safety this, and we said, well, hey, the percentages tell us 41, 42%. He played snaps at linebacker. And then I try to backdoor kind of tell some people, like, he's added weight, guys. Now he's not going to be like this 250, 260 monster, if you will. But he's added weight, and you can see it. As our guy Tuck said, he needs to get with his trainer.
Yeah, I want to get with him,
man.
I'm trying to bulk up like that.
Oh, man, you know what I'm saying? I'll give you some of mine, Matt. We'll meet in the middle. We'll be
okay. Let's do it.
How about that?
I want to throw it out there, too. Shout out to Bluff. Bluff had a live. I don't know if it's still going on, but he had a guy named Coach Webster, who was an intern for the Falcons for the last 2 seasons at their training camp. And I mentioned to him that Keanu Neal's playing weight right now is basically what Deion Jones, who's been the Falcons middle linebacker, is. And he said he thinks that he can give the same type of impact on our defense to what Deion Jones does. So we'll see what happens there. It's big praise, it's kind of interesting. We'll table that. I mean, lower your expectations a little bit, but it's interesting because Neal was playing middle linebacker today, which we all kind of assumed he'd play Will. So I thought that was interesting. At least bring it up.
I mean, that's, for me, it's a reach. To be honest with you, it's a little bit of a reach. And again, he was doing that on the second team. And what we kind of alluded to Tuesday with CFO, and then, of course, Star Gang yesterday, if y'all missed it, we talked about Jalen going to play a lot more than people expect. They lined up in nickel. Who was the 2 linebackers, Matt Owen?
It was Jalen and LVE.
Oh, wow. Big shock, right? Big shock. Jalen definitely lined up all over the look, and all the linebackers, which I've said a multitude of times that I'm intrigued to see how the linebackers are going to get used and how they get moved around in different things. And obviously Jalen LV out the gate with the ones, I think speaks volumes a little bit.
It does. Yeah, it does. Especially because our fan base, I mean, the level of Jalen hate right now is like it's way past Xavier Woods last year and way past what I've seen in quite a while. So like literally right there, Jalen's trash in the comments alone. So we went over it yesterday. If you got a chance to check out the podcast, if you didn't, I'll kind of throw it in right here. But I brought up LVE stats over the last 3 years in terms of coverage, and it was like 80% completion percentage, 78 and 85% was what he was allowing in targets. So it's kind of crazy. And then the last 3 years, he's missed 10 or more tackles 3 consecutive years, and 2 of those were 15% or more of his attempts he missed tackles on.
Right.
The level of hate that Jalen gets probably should be directed towards LVE or at least shared with him, and it's
right.
not. It's not happening. So I think that's kind of interesting. Yeah, Tyron, you're not wrong. There's been a few games for Jalen where he was exceptionally bad, and I feel like people are kind of taking that and extrapolating it as if that's the norm every week. And he has some games where, you know, he makes a big impact, like the first Giants game, Jalen was all over the field. And then he has games where you're like, I can't justify it. Exactly. But hopefully in a simplified scheme where he's attacking and going upfield, we won't see as much of that.
Yeah, but let's table that for a second, Matt. Let's table that for a minute, and let's just kind of get back to the opening camp and different things. Let me ask you this. Let me shoot this question at you real quick. Camp came and went. What is the one thing that you would hang your head on, like jumped out at you? Offense, defense, in between. What's the one thing for Matt that jumped out to you for the day one of camp?
So that's a good, really good question. There's 2 or 3 things I want to say, but I'm only going to pick one because
pick one.
Question is.
Look, I'm with you, hey man. I'm with
that's
you.
What the question
There's
was.
a lot. We'll get to some of the other things. What's the number one thing in Professor O's eyes that jumped out at him?
Yeah, the number one thing, as much as I want to say a few, I'm going to go with Parsons. He was our first round pick. We've all heard lots of rumors. Is he going to play Will? Is he going to play Mike? Is he going to play Sam?
Right.
And today we got our first glimpse of what that actually looks like. And shout out to West Coast who was there and a lot of people who were tweeting about it. But when he was playing and rushing the passer, Tyron Smith struggled with him. La'el Collins struggled with him. In fact, he beat La'el Collins so bad on one play, they said that Dak would have been blown up in the backfield had it not been. He just tagged him, obviously, because we're at training camp day one. He's not going to blow up his quarterback. But, I mean, he was beating him with quickness, and La'el Collins is no chump. I mean, he's a very good tackle, and he struggled with him. So it just shows you a glimpse of what he could potentially offer from a pass rushing standpoint, regardless of where he's playing at. So, I mean, when you start out day one at camp, seeing a guy like that you invested a high resource in immediately contributing, it's promising. And we got a first glimpse of where he's going to play, and it was predominantly Sam. And what was more interesting is he played a lot as a down defensive end.
Yeah, a little bit.
We'll chat about that later.
Right. And I'm with you because let's tie that back to the rookie camp, right? Let's tie that back to the rookie camp and whatnot. And certain things we heard about pass rush. Well, we didn't get no eyes on, but we heard pass rush, maybe moving all the way around if he's reading the tea leaves, right? So my guy Chop's in the building. What's going on, Chop? T99 Fridays in the building. What's going on, Chop? Good to see you, brother. And we heard about that in the mini camps and the OTAs, and now we're seeing it now live and in person, and those things are happening with Parsons. And again, the one thing that we always talked about here on this channel for sure was that Parsons was recruited as a running back. Like that 4.3 940 is real. Okay, like it's not. There's a lot of fake 40 numbers this year that, you know, we kind of went back and talked about and everything. His is real, and it showed up today. So yeah, him being, you know, man, and look, I hate to bag on like prior coaches or anything, but I just want to kind of double down on what you're saying there, Matt. On your one thing that stood out is, I don't know if a prior coaching staff would have said, hey, look, here's what he's doing. Because remember, we heard, oh, you don't draft an off-ball linebacker, right? Off-ball linebacker was this hot topic when it came to Parsons and taking him at 12, right? But you got Quinn who's saying, well, what do you do good? And now we're going to put you in places to succeed. And we're seeing that day one. Now we'll wait and see how that grows. But I'm with you. I mean, you want to see the guy that you picked number one in the top, 12, since he was at 12. and we talked about this before, arguably the best defensive player in the draft, but you want to see them doing things and finding ways to put him on the field. And that is very encouraging.
And I'll say right now, too, I was one of the more vocal, or at least equally vocal with a lot of people. When we drafted him, I'm like, I absolutely hate this pick if he's going to play Mike. I hate it. I hate it so much. But if he's going to be versatile and we're going to use him as a jack of all trades, and again, maybe he eventually develops into that true Mike and we see him get have a Patrick Willis or Urlacher or Ray Lewis, whatever, whoever you want to pick, impact, phenomenal. But year one, I don't want to see him play there. I want to see him all over the place. And if we're using him that way, that's great. I used this reference earlier. It's a little bit late, so we'll go with it. I said I'll give you the clean version. I said playing Jalen just at Mike is the equivalent of having an adult film star and only using missionary. Play him all over the place. Do some different things. Have some fun with it. That's all I'm saying.
Not that Matt Owen.
I'm thinking about that. I'm just saying, from whatever.
But yeah, not that he's ever watched it or anything. Just saying.
Yeah. Just
but with that being said, I think that and I'm with you, Matt Owen. There's a lot of different things that jumped out at me today, day one. And I mean, my guy Chop said, mobility wise, and we're going to get into that. Stick around. We're going to talk about that, but it's going to be the number one thing.
Tonka threw out a good one too.
Who did?
Tonka in the chat.
Oh yeah. I threw it up there already. Yeah, I threw that up there. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get to that. I think for me, the number one thing of going and seeing and doing, and some things that we really thought that were prevalent, but we got a chance to see, this defense is faster.
Oh yeah,
they're not slow. Look, I really want to hang my hat on Dan Quinn a lot, but I'm gonna table that because you can't coach speed, and this defense has taken it up another gear from a speed standpoint. Whether it's about the clips of Randy Gregory getting around La'el Collins, whether as you were talking about, with Parsons and what he was doing, we see some things from Wright. We've seen some things from the defensive line in general. The overall speed of this defense, day one, feels different. And that excites me. That excites me tremendously, man. Shout out to my guy, Jesse. Happy birthday again, brother.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, happy birthday, bro. The big 2-5 in the building. So that, for me, is exciting because you just can't coach those things. And I'm super duper excited about that. Now,
and to your point, real quick, just to throw it in there, a guy that we didn't hear a lot from in OTAs because of injuries and in the offseason we haven't really heard a lot about, but fans are excited about, Donovan Wilson. To your point, you can't put all of it on Dan Quinn because some of the guys were there before him. But the word from the early report, I think, shout out to Kyle Usman, I think that's who said it, but he said that Donovan Wilson looked violent in his breaks, which means explosive if you're not sure. That means he looks quick in live.
Yeah.
That way, which is exciting to hear. I'm excited to hear that.
And look, and let me own that real quick because I had things floated my way, right? I had things, some need, not around, not really sure where he's going to fit. There were some things there that have been percolating, if you will, when it comes to Donovan Wilson. To hear not just him, but other people with those tweets and different things saying that he was not only explosive, but violent at times, it is encouraging, right? Because we need something on that back end. As we talked about on Wednesday, we said, look, what makes up for maybe subpar or just average cornerback play is good safety play. And if he's going to be that guy that can walk through that door and lock down that, I'm super excited about it. So yes, very encouraging to hear that about Donovan Wilson when there's some things out there that was floating around about Donovan. Let me pivot to this. And shout out to my guy, D-Town, always checking in. Appreciate you, brother. We're all optimistic right now. It's the honeymoon season still. Honeymoon season. We're drinking the Kool-Aid. Look, I got some blue. Look, I literally went and poured some blue Kool-Aid just for this show. I got some blue Kool-Aid. Look, I'm sipping. I love it. Let's pivot to the offense for a second. We talked a little bit about defense. Let's pivot to the offense for a second. And man, a lot of play action, a lot of bootleg, and this wasn't just with Dak. Like all the quarterbacks were doing the same things. So maybe that's something a little bit more going to be instituted this year. But I'm going to go right back to Dak exclusively. We had guys on the pup list. Dak wasn't one of those guys. Dak did everything, no issues, no hitches, no gips, no nothing. Rolling out, dropping dimes. If you haven't seen them or if you missed them, go to the Stargate Facebook page. I got several different videos up of him doing that. Man, I don't know how you don't get excited about that, Matto. I don't know seeing him move around and do those things.
Right. Yeah. That one throw, I believe it was on Jordan Lewis. He hit Malik Turner on the corner, or right at the sideline in stride, and it was an over the shoulder throw. It was a thing of beauty, and he did it on the run, rolling to his left. So he's throwing it across his body to make that throw. He looked good. He had a couple deep bombs. He hit CD one time. I think Aaron Parker he hit on another one, and he looked good.
On the rollout to the right. Gallup on the right. Yeah. Yeah,
he looked good. And again, we'll shout out to West Coast because he was there. He's one of the guys I heard it from. But a lot of people said it too to corroborate his thought was, if you did not know Dak was hurt last year, you'd have no idea. Like there's no signs or limps or anything with his steps. He wasn't like hesitant to step into his throws. And then I heard the same thing for Jarwin. So shout out to him too. Looks like both of them worked hard and rehab well.
Yeah. I mean, great news, with the money, everything else being in so and what we think and everything and how his makeup is and whatnot. But just watching him get the ball out, do different things, super excited for the fan base, right? We just haven't seen those things yet. And to watch him, like I said, they've decided, offensively maybe to move the pocket some, even with everybody coming back. But we also know my brother, you're a PFF disciple to a certain extent, right? The play action versus just a straight dropbacks or snaps matters a ton in this league. You can use the play action to mask a average quarterback. Now you take a above average to great quarterback and start mixing those things in. Man, it makes his game so much easier. On top of the fact, Zeke, 218, lightest that he's been since his freshman year at Ohio State. My goodness. How good did Zeke even look today?
Yeah. Well, first off, there was a scary moment where he slipped on the turf. All's good. He didn't get injured. He got right back up. But yeah, his offseason work, shout out to him. He dedicated himself. He reinvented his body. He put in a ton of time and effort, and it showed. I mean, he looked quick. And one thing that's kind of important to note too, a lot of people talk about the fumbles last year, and we all understand all the stuff that went into that, injuries and offensive line woes and all that stuff. But he dropped a lot of passes last year, and he spent a lot of time this offseason working on receiving, running true routes, and that's something we haven't really seen a lot from Zeke. It's not that he's a bad route runner. It's just never been a focus of an offseason. He spent a lot of time doing that. So I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out through training camp. But yeah, Zeke looked great. In that play action, the reason it's so deadly for anybody, you guys probably already understand this, but just in case you don't, it buys, whether it's a third of a second or a half of a second of time from the linebackers and safeties who have to read run first, and holds them in place. And that half-second difference could be all the difference you need to complete a pass in the NFL, because the throwing windows are already so small. Anything you can do to just slightly pause a linebacker. And then the reason it's important is the next time when you actually run the ball out of the same formation, the linebackers are hesitant to go forward because they think it may be play action. So it just freezes them in their spot. And again, that's the difference in Zeke having a 2-yard run and an 8-yard run, and the difference in Dak having a incompletion in a 12-yard throw on a dig right behind them. So I'm excited about that. And then if you look at the numbers league-wide, almost every quarterback in the league is significantly better in play action. And fans ask, well, why don't you do it every play? Well, because if you do it every play, teams, understand.
Yeah.
But again, you have to have a strong run game in order for that really to be, to have merit. And if they're not afraid of the run game, they don't really have to buy that second.
And I'll be honest with you. You had the over-under in the group. You had the over-under 1,400 yards. You know what I mean? You have the over-under. As I think about how this is going to break down and what they're doing and what's happening. Look, knee-jerk reactions here, guys. Knee-jerk reactions. It's day one. We got to let this thing play out. But you know what? We are sipping the blue Kool-Aid, and we're going to talk about it. Hey, I'll be honest with you. I think the over should have been 1,500, Professor O.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I should have made it that. For those that don't know the actual numbers, I just asked in the group. I didn't give any context on why I asked. I just simply said, "Will Zeke rush for over 1,400 yards?" We had 151 say yes, a lot, and 90 said no. Pretty big number. That means if you're doing the quick math, that's like 40% of the people that voted said no, he's not going to hit that. Right. And I know 1,400 typically sounds like it'd be a huge season, but when you add that 17th game, it averages out to just over 82 yards a game. And I think after what we saw so far, I mean, I'm all in. I think Zeke's going to surpass that. And if he doesn't, I'd be surprised.
Let me ask you a question. Last time you saw Zeke took one to the house, like memorably, like 50 plus yards. Last time in your mind, off the cusp. Go quick, man. Don't think. Go quick. Go quick. 2016.
It's been so long. Yeah, I'm thinking of like the Bengals and Packers game in 2016. He's had long receptions, but like I haven't felt like he hasn't housed one in a long time from far away. Steelers game. That's probably the most recent one I can think of.
Boom. There you go. That's going to change. I absolutely unequivocally believe that's going to change. I'm looking at him. I look at his build. I'm looking at this offense, the weapons. You got to pick your poison. If we're really going to double down on this play action, and let's give credit to Mike McCarthy some here. Analytics tells you play action works, right?
Right.
Because analytics was the hot button word last year. It's not being talked about enough, or not enough. It's not really being talked about this year so much. But the analytics tells you the play action does everything, right?
Right.
Okay. You got Lamb in the slot. You know, we're talking about these different guys. Pack the box, don't pack the box. That's fine. Play action here over the top. Sooner or later, you gotta bend back. Zeke at 218, lighter even than his rookie season. Yeah, man. I think 1,500 is a no-brainer. I really do. Yeah, injuries prevailing. I think it's a no-brainer.
It's interesting you asked that question to me because if you look at the chat, we're seeing lots of Bengals 2016, lots of Steelers. So it seems like our fan base is kind of on the same with us. Like, I'm sure if you look through the numbers, there's a couple of plays that we missed, but there's quite a few fans that kind of have that same thing that has been 4 years since we've seen those long runs.
Right. I think that comes back this year. I definitely do. Look, not that he hasn't had something in different things. And there was a mode where he kind of changed his body, wanted to be the bruiser and did different things. I think he understood what he needs to do now. And I'm excited. Look, we should all be excited about it. And, when it comes to that.
We've seen backs in the Cowboys do the exact same thing, though. So we saw Julius Jones start out really quick and explosive and then try to bulk up to be more of an every down back. We saw the same thing with Felix Jones.
Yes.
I think Zeke saw the errors of his ways, like maybe I got a little bit too bulked up. Let me cut a little bit and get some of that explosiveness back. And one thing that's kind of interesting really quickly is we talk about play action and how that can help the pass game, and it also kind of helps the run game because you freeze those linebackers for a second. Mm-hmm. There's such things as play action run plays, and what that is as simply as it looks like a play action pass. You actually hand the ball, and then immediately after handing it, the quarterback does a quick little pump fake, and that again freezes the linebackers or safeties, and that's the difference in him hitting a gap and taking it for the house. So we may see some of that. I mean,
and look, and we get back to some RPO work,
right?
Some RPOs in there. Enough about the offense, though. Enough about the offense, man. Though.
There's never enough about the offense. There's always something to talk about the offense.
Well, hey, look, offense puts asses in the seat.
A true former wide receiver.
Yeah, come on now. Offenses put asses on the seat. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, my co-host, the former college wide receiver, me, the former college defensive guy.
Now, of course, you want to talk defense. I'm totally kidding. I'm good.
A smidge. But let's go there. Let's talk about Dan Quinn. I pounded this table. Let me pound that. I pounded this table, and I've said a ton that Dan Quinn was the biggest free agent acquisition that we got. Day one. Real quick, let me answer this question. Bro, he had a couple of he had a couple of plays where Bo just blew it up. I'm just being honest with you. If you watched it and you got a chance to see it, I'll kind of dig up that tape and inbox you. A couple of plays where he just really pushed that pocket and blew it up. But with that being said, let's talk about Dan Quinn for a second in the vacuum, right? And look, I'm gonna leave nobody off the table here, Matto. let's go all the way. I'm not just going to talk about Nolan last year. I'm going to go back even to Marinelli and even whenever Marinelli had Chris Richard even. And we kind of saw how he worked. Forget everything he talks about and whatnot. Just day one and how he worked, right? What are your thoughts about Dan Quinn today? Just today. Nothing else. What do you think?
Yeah, so
what did you like, what you didn't like?
I mean,
I'm on a little Kool-Aid.
Sip that Kool-Aid, man. Drink it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly, I couldn't tell you because we didn't see enough to tell you what I didn't like. What I did like, which is promising, is there's coaches and there's teachers, and they're two different things, right? You can have guys that are good coaches but not great teachers, and then you can have guys that are great teachers and not great coaches. He's very interactive with the players, so he's not a guy who's going to stand there. And Marinelli, to his credit, was the same way with the defensive line. Marinelli is a true defensive line guy. Now, he was a little bit older and, had some walking issues, so he wasn't quite getting in there and firing off a little and showing them how to blow up the offensive lineman and stay low. But he was involved much more than what we saw with Nolan and Chris Richard. Richard's more of an in-your-face yeller. He wasn't really as much of, let's get in one-on-one, you and me, let's work through this. We saw Dan Quinn do that with the defensive lineman. We've seen him do it today with Randy Gregory. He had the arm pad on himself and it's helping him with rip techniques and swimming. And I like that. I like that he has that energy. Also, shout out to him for rocking the Jays, helping out Dak Prescott in the Jordan line. I like his energy. We'll see what happens from here, but I was excited with what I saw day one. And again, one thing that's exciting is we saw heard about a lot of big plays from the defensive backs, not just Nahshon Wright having a lot of pass breakups, but Diggs had good plays. We heard about Jordan Lewis. We heard about Donovan Wilson. We saw Keanu Neal playing big nickel, and we'll talk – not Keanu Neal, sorry. Jaron Kearse playing big nickel, and we can talk about that stuff later on in other shows. But overall, I was excited about what I saw, but until they have pads on and you actually get to see them – and I did want to mention that to Chop real quick. If we don't hear a lot about Big Bo, don't really worry too much about it because, a guy like that, the big body's really going to shine when the pads are on. So the early training camp practices, I won't really worry too much of whether we hear him or not, but he did blow up a few plays like you mentioned. So overall, day one, happy with what I heard, but we'll evaluate as it goes on.
Yeah, for me, here's what I think about when it comes to Dan Quinn. And you kind of said a couple of things. Well, Marinelli, a little older, bring me whoever. Right. I mean, he went and spent the 21st birthday with Tristan Hill and he co-signed him. And then 8 games later, he was out, whatever. Chris Richard, I'm going to yell, scream, whatever. Then we got to Nolan, who was up in Wizard of Oz. He was up there and then he had to come down and whatnot. The thing that I look at when I see Dan Quinn is this. We heard who he is. We heard what he was. We saw today multiple clips. We saw D-line coaching, whether it was with all the D tackles. We saw that. Shared that on the Stargate Facebook group. Saw him working with Randy Gregory one-on-one. Shared that video clip in the Stargate group. Saw him work with the linebackers after practice, working with Micah Parsons, right? My guy, hey, shout out to my guy Gibson. Been a while for you. He was here yesterday. It was on CFO Tuesday. Tuesday. But appreciate you, brother. Glad to see you. Then you saw him working with the DB. Like you saw him physically working with them on every level. For me, the greatest thing that I think today, when I hear about Dan Quinn, and we heard this last year now, and I go back to the first 3 or 4 weeks last year, and you heard whether it was Jalen or whoever defensively say these guys, the defensive guys aren't teachers. They don't do that. And we're looking. Coaching is one thing. When you're in the paint with a player, especially as a defensive guy, and Mano, I think as a wide receiver, when a guy coaches you and he's out there with you, it hits you differently. Right. Okay, you're really showing me and giving me and not just preaching to me. So those things hit differently. And he did those things. But I think for me, the one thing that I caught a caveat after practice tweet, I'm sorry, I don't remember who did it. I'm going to figure it out so I can share it. And the guy that shared it before I heard it from Mike McCarthy was that He spent 10 minutes with the defense talking about how to take notes, right? How to take notes. And then he turned on a old school jam of Run DMC, turned it on and said, hey, as quickly as you can, take notes on this and what this song is about and what's going on. And it's like he's training them. Look, it's hip hop. It's music, if you will, to do those things. But on the back end, it's going to transcend into the you're not just coaching them, which he is coaching. He's teaching them, which is what the Jalen's of the world and whatever was asking for 2-3 weeks in last year. For me, whenever I say that he's the biggest free agent acquisition, gives me life. Makes me, however much little blue Kool-Aid I have left. I'm on it.
You have to start with a bigger bottle next time. Next time you need a bigger bottle to start the show.
Yeah. No, fair enough. You know what? Fair. Or a couple of pouches, if you will.
Yeah, just mix them up.
But that's the things that I love. That like he's doing that kind of thing and he's making it happen. But with that being said, there's risers, there's fallers within the camp. And of course, what we're getting, the feeds we're getting, different things that we hear, whatever. Because, see, I think a lot of people say, well, no, Nahshon Wright had a great and Kelvin Joseph's in trouble. Well, actually, Kelvin Joseph didn't really have a bad day. He just didn't do as much. But I do think there's a couple of guys that hurt themselves today.
Okay. Who's that?
I think that, look, not of his own accord. I think Francis Bernard, tough sledding, sir. You got hurt. Some reports of torn hammy. I'm waiting to see. But that's going to be a bad look. If his hamstring is torn, I don't think he makes the team. I really don't. Tristan Hill on the PUP list with Mike McCarthy saying he's the longest term.
Right.
As far as getting back, that doesn't bode well for him.
And to be clear for anybody who didn't see it, we have a few players that started on the PUP list, and they specifically singled him out as the least likely to be ready week 1. So there's definitely some cause for concern there.
Right. But now that opens the door for guys like Hines, the undrafted free agent and linebacker from A&M. Maybe he can walk through that door. Look, we heard Robinson kind of flash a little bit today.
Yeah, that was good to hear.
Which is exciting, right? But we didn't hear nothing about Kennedy. Okay, well, doesn't mean that Kennedy's out the mix per se. Right? Now, one of the guys that you've been banging the table for, Matto, that I'll bring front and center, because we banged the table about Big Nickel forever, and you've been high on this guy, and nobody's really want to talk about him.
I know, it's lonely.
Mr. Curse.
Real lonely out here on this island, but
Mr. O, by all means.
Yeah, so you've probably heard if you tune into our show, we talk about it at least 5 minutes or so every episode, it feels like, Big Nickel. And we do that because we have so many safety linebackers who are big that can play the Big Nickel. But Jayron Kearse is a huge dude. He's number 32. If you watch any of the footage, he stands out when you see him out there. He's so much bigger than all the other defensive backs. Even Nahshon Wright, who's a tall dude, he's just thicker. Like Wright's, tall and lanky, and he's more solid. But he played a lot of Big Nickel today, which what that means is he is a supersized nickel cornerback, essentially, based on his size, and is able to match up with bigger guys. So think about when we're playing teams like Tampa Bay and Kansas City and the Atlanta Falcons and teams that have these really athletic tight ends that they can split out wide. You don't want a linebacker, unless you have a super athletic coverage linebacker, matched up with these tight ends out in the slot. You want to play a big nickel so you can have bigger personnel who can match up against them. And we saw a lot of that with Jayron Kearse today. So just things to look at when you watch a few of the highlights. I know that one of the Nahshon Wright pass breakups and a Diggs pass breakup, if you look on the same side as him in the nickel, you see Jayron Kearse. So it's interesting because we've chatted about it a lot, and we actually got to see it come to fruition today, which is exciting. And keep in mind, he's not going to be the only guy that does that. We have guys like Israel Mukuamu who could potentially do that. Another guy who could be a big nickel is a guy like Reggie Robinson. He's a bigger size defensive back that you can switch out guys like Jordan Lewis when you have taller wide receivers that you want to match up with. And he's a guy that we've chatted, whether he makes the team or not, I don't know. But I'm just saying we have a lot of longer, lankier guys we can play in that spot.
What about Jabril Cox? Jabril Cox, big nickel?
Jabril Cox, yeah, he could potentially play that in some situations. And again, you could see Keanu O'Neal if they want to find ways to get him on the field and they want to get, say, a nickel formation with Parsons and Jalen Smith on the field, or Parsons and LVE. You could then potentially put Keanu O'Neal as your big nickel as well. We saw Parsons, Neal, and Curse out there a few times. It was 7-on-7, but that's actually on a few of the highlights if you want to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Chop says, my boy Cox from LSU is a baller. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. We got to wait and see how the chips fall when it comes to him.
Cox is interesting because he's the guy we've heard fans say is going to play 60 and 70%. We've heard fans say 15%. So it'll be interesting to see what his actual year one looks like, because he's hard to project with how deep the linebacker room is right now.
You know, I think a surprise for me. Let me give you a surprise for me. Mr. Urban.
Right.
Urban did a lot with the ones today.
Right. I thought that was interesting too.
I think Watkins did, though.
He did.
Like everybody that wrote off Mr. Carlos Watkins from the Texas, which, by the way, I have a tweet about 2 months ago said, I believe that Watkins will make this team. However, I did not believe that Watkins will be lining up with the number ones today, though, either.
You know, somebody at ESPN right now is like we said,
we said right. I was like, wow, Watkins is number one, and we didn't hear a lot from Urban today. Now, I don't think that's look. Here's the thing. One thing that I'm going to pull a tab on, like, for me, I'm like, didn't see Urban a lot. I'm going to set this over here and see, because I've been out the gate. So the day we signed Urban, I said, come training camp, I think the Cowboys is going to fall in love with Urban. I look at what he did with Chicago. I watched the tape. I did things. And I'm like, Urban's going to make a difference here. But day one, Urban didn't walk through that door.
Right.
He didn't walk through that door. It was Watkins. My guy Mendoza with Gallimore. I mean, Gallimore had looks on first and second team. But, I mean,
really, until the pads come on, you're just not going to hear a ton about the defensive tackle. I mean, unless you just absolutely blow up the play, you're not going to hear a lot about them. You'll see them get a little bit more shine as the pads come on in the coming days. Yeah, and again, Urban's not a super phenomenal athlete that's going to,
he's a dirty work.
He's going to be the guy that holds blocks and does the dirty work. So
yeah, he's a garbage man.
He and guys like Big Bo don't really get a chance to shine in, just shells practices.
Right. He's a garbage man. My guy here, shout out to my guy Bradford, said, what do y'all think about Holton Hill coming in? I mean, they got a couple of different guys, a corner coming in. I mean, I'll go first, man, and I'll let you go. For me personally, great, cool, that's awesome, great. Let me know when the Cowboys are serious about adding somebody to the secondary. I mean, it's a camp body. Cool. You got 2 roster spots currently. Add some people, do it. I don't think Holton Hill is going to walk in here and be a savior or anything else. I think there's better guys out there, like a Brian Poole, your guy Matt O from Pittsburgh that got cut.
Steven Nelson. Yeah,
there's better guys to go get, but I mean, camp body. I mean, Stephen Jones. Talent acquisition is 365 day job, and we're looking to add. So that's where I'm at. For you, Holton Hill and the other guys, a couple of different names get floated out there. Are you excited about any of those names, or just meh?
I mean, it's hard to be that excited. He's 6'2", so he fits the profile of what we've been going after. But he's a guy that, we cut Rashard Robinson. We're going to need some cornerbacks who can play, be a camp body, show up for preseason games, so you don't have to play a lot of the top 4, top 5 guys. You don't want to see a lot of CJ Goodwin, even though he's your special teams ace. You don't really want him to risk getting injured in preseason. So you got to have a camp body. And again, he's still a younger guy. If you keep in mind what we did with undrafted free agent signings, we didn't really load up or sign any cornerbacks. So he's the guy that potentially could compete for a practice squad spot after if he has a good training camp showing, but I don't really expect much from him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going into the what ifs. Let's stick to today and let's get hype about today. I'm almost out of blue Kool-Aid, so we're going to stick to here. So let's pivot a little bit. We talked about Dan Quinn. We talked a little bit about Dak and what's going on with the offense. We talked about Zeke and the weight, a little bit of Jalen, a little bit of Parsons. You know, let's go ahead and get to the brass tacks, the cornerbacks.
Right.
The cornerbacks. And let's really dive in. You know, we talked about this. Like, Anthony Brown has to be not just marginally better, he has to be way better. Man, did we hear anything about Anthony Brown today with the potato chip on his back?
There was a little bit, not a lot. I mean, there was not like he intercepted passes or broke it up, but there was a few tweets that he looked good in coverage. But again, keep in mind, not having a big day in terms of interceptions isn't a bad thing, because you can be a Byron Jones. Not that he is Byron Jones, but I mean, you can be a Byron Jones where they just don't throw at you a lot and you had a good, successful day. But, you know, he didn't do anything bad. There was no reports of him getting torched or anything like that. So he had a kind of fly under the radar day. But, I mean, right now, I think everybody – you'd be foolish to think right now you're not going into week one with Diggs, Brown, and Jordan Lewis as your top three, and then some combination of Bossman and Wright battling it out. But if Wright keeps playing like what he did today, it's going to be hard not to put him at number two. And if Brown's not starting, he won't make the team.
Right. And look, and to be clear about not Brown, to be clear about Wright, he's on the other side. He's playing the backup to Diggs on his side. For now, day one, he is. That's where he's at. So, as I tweeted, and I've talked about this a ton, the best thing for business when it comes to the Cowboys and this cornerback is Kelvin Joseph or Nahshon Wright to put a vice grip, if you will, on CB2. Now, Joseph has the upper hand because he is on the other side from Diggs behind Brown. Nahshon Wright is behind Diggs today. The one thing that I'm looking for moving forward is this. When do they take Wright and move him to the other side? Once I see Wright move to the other side, I know it's real. Look, it's great.
It's a good point.
Right. Training camp, mini camp. We heard all that. We tempered expectations. Day one, what he's done today is great. But until the coaching staff decides to move him to the other side and then to compete over there, man, it's a lot of fodder. But I will say this. If Mr. Wright continues what he did today, pads be damned, moving forward, he's going to make it very hard for this coaching staff to not say, all right, fam, let's see you on the other side and see what you do. They won't be able to ignore it, if you will. Like I said, over there, it's literally Wright versus Brown right now. But everything out of camp, Joseph versus Brown, excuse me. But everything out of camp, and when we go back to the OTAs and the mini camps and the rookie camps, it was Wright. I've said this before, and I think this matters. You got to have a sponsor, right? You got to have a sponsor. And I think, and I've said this on air before, and I'm going to double down right now. Clip this, record it, send it back to me, put it on Twitter. I will stand and I will die on this hill. The coaches pushed for Wright in the third round at 99. They pushed. It's easier to sell a third round corner beating out a second round corner than it is a fourth, fifth, sixth, so on and so forth. Joseph was always a scout pick. That's the room. That's what happened during the draft. This was a scout slash pseudo GM in Willie We Trust, Willie McClay pick of Kelvin Joseph, right? Because we missed out in the first round because of what happened before us. So they panicked and took him. I don't want to say panicked. They sat and took him because they could have had a different guys, right? They could have had Asante Samuel Jr. from FSU, whatever. That's the guy they want. Not panic. Like we didn't get him in the first round, cornerback wise. Well, we're taking this guy. And then the coaches banged the table for Wright at 99, which we already know. It's been well documented. He was a sixth or seventh round pick on most boards. That's why a lot of Cowboys Nation and others said, what are you doing? Easier sell for a third round pick to be over a second round pick. So for me, the interesting thing out of day one coming out of the camps that we didn't get to see is Wright going forward. Whenever they move Wright to the other side from Diggs, perk your ears up, pay attention. He's in the mix for CB2.
Right.
Oh, agree, disagree?
No, it's a good point. I don't disagree. What I would say is a slight pushback challenge is I don't think being a left cornerback and a right cornerback is a big difference for these guys at all. So I think although he's taking left cornerback snaps or right cornerback, actually he was playing right cornerback today. I get where you're going with it, and I do think that he naturally mimics and fits the mold of what Diggs is, because Diggs is a former wide receiver who converted in college to play defensive back, which is exactly what happened with Nahshon Wright. He was a wide receiver, and you can tell when the ball's in the air, he naturally has a good feel for it, and does a good job of catching the ball, high pointing it, jumping up there in the air to grab it, getting his arms extended. Just has a natural feel for going for the ball. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have him shadow, so to speak, and be right behind Diggs in terms of learning there. I do think you're right, though. Once we start hearing about Brown not getting those first team reps, regardless of who it is, and especially when he switches sides, if it happens just suddenly, there's definitely some smoke to that fire. I did want to point out what Tonka said real quick, that Kelvin Joseph would have been a top of the first if it wasn't for character concerns. Dallas loves that. Jerry Jones in our scouting department loves going for that guy in the second round that would have been a first if it weren't for an injury, or would have been a first if it weren't for this off the field issue, or would have been a first for whatever reason. It very much feels like they were going for a safety in round two. Two of them, Javon Holland and Mary, got snatched up right before us. So they were like, got to go with cornerback. Asante Samuel is a guy we like, but he's a smaller guy, and he's really a true second rounder. Kelvin Joseph was the guy that would have been a first. We can't pass him up. We got to go cornerback. We lost our cornerbacks in the first round and landed with Parsons, and we're excited about it. I don't know if that's true, but I kind of get that vibe that may be the case.
Right.
And then Wright was the first cornerback where they were like, that's the guy we want. He fits our scheme. He fits what we're going for.
Right.
So I think that might be a little bit of the scouts pick value-wise, and owners, are really more ownership pick compared to the coach's pick, which is right.
I mean, let's be clear, right? Let's exclusively talk about Kelvin Joseph real quick. 5-star safety recruit, whatever, bounced around. He only played 15 games in college.
Right.
So it can only get better with reps. That's the great side. And that's where the indecision is. Well, if Nahshon Wright walks through the door at corner, why not give a look at Kelvin at safety? I'm not a fan of that per se, but I mean, it's out there. It is what it is. This day when I can't, it's way too soon, let this thing play out. But I mean, it's out there though, too, on the same token. But man, we got about 9 minutes left before we get out of here. We're going to hold y'all too long. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Like, shares, obviously Star Gang Podcast, YouTube. Hit the sub, hit the bell, come rock with us. Matt O, we've covered a bevy of things day one of camp. Is there another thing in your head that you want to bring out? And obviously y'all keep shooting the questions to us. Is there another thing in your head about camp that maybe stuck out to you, or you thought about? It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. Whatever the case may be, that you thought is prevalent.
Yeah, so we actually kind of started out the show for anybody who joined late. I put a little clip of Keanu Neal and how much he bulked up.
Right.
Keanu Neal, and I'll be the first to admit, I just assumed the plan was going to be for him to be the will linebacker, and he was going to sub in and out with LVE, and he was going to be the nickel guy. He played Mike linebacker today, and I did not see that coming at all. So it's just surprising. It'll be interesting to see if that's a recurring theme we keep hearing more and more about, because it honestly never crossed my mind at all.
I asked you what Jay took about that green dot. I don't want to hear me.
Well, but you can have a green dot and not be the mic, though. You don't have to be typically it is because the mic doesn't leave the field a lot. But I mean,
but in Dallas,
it's a good question. Good question. Shout out to you, or props to you for that.
Maybe I should have prefaced it different. In Dallas, who's had the green dot?
Oh, it's been the mic. But it doesn't have to be, is all I'm saying. Like,
no, you're not wrong. No, I agree with you. You're not wrong. We're talking about reps and different things. And look, even within that, he didn't run with the ones today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Van Jalen might be back. Hey, remember we showed him the guitars, Woolen. Yeah, I mean, it might be back. You know, I mean, it is what it is. And look, and to be honest with you, as we saw this, the ones on day one, if they block everything up in front of them, like these guys, we've seen LVE and Jalen be effective.
Right.
It's not that we haven't seen it before. And I'm a firm believer in this. I'll ask you this question. I'm a firm believer. If you see it once, it can happen again.
True.
Keep them clean and let it happen. But it would be very interesting to me that Neil came here because he had a choice to go to the Jets here, whatever, his coach, whatever. I mean, somebody's not going to get snaps at linebacker. Again, I've said it before. I've said it a ton on shows leading up to this show tonight. It's going to be very interesting to see the linebackers that's on the short end of the stick. I'm just waiting to see who it is. Like, I don't want to buy that Neil's going to be that guy. Right. I look at him. I'm like, yeah. We kind of pinpointed LVE a little bit. Man, a lot of reps today. But again, it's day one. We're overreacting. It is what it. Again, Nashon Wright's an All-Pro this year. We know what it is. But again, just to temperament it, interesting. I think the big takeaways of today for me, and I'll give you this before we get out of here. I think for me, my big takeaways of today is play action and rollout. Not just play action, but actual rollout and move in the pocket. I think those are big. I think looking at La'el Collins and even Tyron Smith, the shape that they're in.
I'm so glad you said that. I was just going to say, we've almost made it an hour and haven't brought up. They are supposedly, and from what I saw, they look like they are ready to go in incredible shape.
Bro. The Tyron Smith couple of videos I saw, I'm like, my God. And again, he actually finally got the surgery, which I've said a ton. People think he's really old. Bro, if this surgery is good to go, he has 4 or 5 years left easily. Right. If it's good to go.
He's 30, right?
Right.
I believe he's 30.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm like, he's not that old. He's just been here since he's 19.
Yeah, he feels like he's like 37 or something.
Yeah, I mean, again,
he's just been here a long time. And it was like 21 when he was drafted.
Right. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about seeing them. I'm excited about Zeke and where he's at. Right. I'm excited about seeing Dan Quinn working with everybody. And I'm for sure, I don't want to bag, but I'm going to bag a little bit. If there was a prior regime here that drafted Micah Parsons, they would have pigeonholed him to one thing. And we literally, day one, have seen them work with him and take advantage of what he can do. And, man, I think Cowboys Nation, and it's not just about Micah Parsons. If Dan Quinn is doing that with Micah Parsons, he's doing that with every single player. He's going to match and put these guys in a place to win. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's my top this. For you, though, man, I'll definitely give you the floor on this.
No, you pretty much covered them all. I just want to remind people, training camp, you're going to hear a lot of stuff coming out. And don't assume just because you didn't hear about somebody that they had a bad day. If you hear that they had a bad day, assume that it was worse than what was reported. Because we heard, like, Clinton Dix was the guy last offseason that we heard repeatedly. He had a bad day. And then the next day, like, struggled again in coverage. And then the next day, like, they will let you know if somebody's really struggling out there or getting torched. Like, we had an offseason, our training camp, I think it was 3 years ago, where it was Anthony Brown was just constantly, everybody at training camp was destroying him. So you'll know about it. If you don't hear about somebody, don't assume that they're falling out of the order unless you don't hear about them for multiple days in a row and then pay note to it. A guy like Tony Pollard, for instance, all the talk was about Zeke, and rightfully so, because people got to see him in action. So don't assume that he's not going to get any love just because you didn't hear about him today. Yeah. I would be interested, real quick, before we wrap it up, chat, let me know too. What's your one hot take, good, bad, about Dallas right now? We're one day in, super premature. Feel free to pivot from it. But what's your one hot take from today? Or doesn't have to be from today, just today. What are you feeling?
Yeah. I mean, look, and real quick, Mr. Rondell Carter had some good reps today.
He did. I heard that.
Yeah, he has some good rips today. I love Robinson getting some rips today. My one, how about this? Chat, chime in with your one hot take for today. My, outside the Kool-Aid drinking we're doing, I think my one, man, it's not really a hot take. My one hot take for today is this. I'm going to go outside the box a little bit. I'm a little bit outside the box. I think my one hot take today was Mike McCarthy's press conference. Is that for the first time he's been in Dallas, I think he was comfortable today. I think he was very comfortable today. I agree. I think he was shooting shots at Rich. Rich kind of chimed in. He was like, bruh, look, I know you got me. I'll need you.
Just the shades he just needed. Once he put the shades on for him, everything changed.
The beard,
changed.
The shades.
He looked comfortable. He did.
Yeah, I think my one big takeaway from day one, is that for the first time since Mike McCarthy has been in the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, last year is what it was. Look, we even talked about the opening press conference, and he still didn't look very comfortable or anything. Man, I thought he was very comfortable today. I think he was in his zone. I think he did certain things, and I think the more comfortable that Mike McCarthy is in the situation, I think that bodes very well for the Cowboys. Like I said, there's a lot of things that you could cherry pick. I mean, I could go through about 3 or 4 different things, but for me personally, I'll say Mike McCarthy's press conference today and how he handled it and how he went through it, and he was matter of fact kind of not the big Lebowski, he was just in his zone. I think for me, this is my big takeaway today is Mike McCarthy.
So far, Mendoza has Reggie Robinson as cornerback 2. I love it. I'm not going to join you on that one, but I love your take, man. I love it. We saw Dominic said the defense is going to be better than we think, which would be great. Mine, as of today, July 22nd, I know Mendoza's high on him too. I fully believe that DeMonte Casey will be a Pro Bowler this year. If his production is even close to what he did his last 2 full seasons in Atlanta when he was healthy, so what I mean by that is if he has a 5 or more interception season in Dallas, he will be a Pro Bowler 100%. Wow. If you had more Kool-Aid, you should sip on that one. I believe DeMonte Casey will be a Pro Bowler in Dallas, which means next year we may not re-sign him because he won't be back.
My Kool-Aid's
out. I have it.
Look, my Kool-Aid's out, so I can't buy it.
Look, that's okay. You don't have to. That's my hot take.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we hear about it sometimes, and we have to remember this. Sometimes you don't hear anything about a player. It doesn't mean bad stuff. It just means they didn't mess up.
Right.
Or you didn't hear good stuff. You just didn't hear bad stuff. So, yeah, Casey walking through it and doing that. My guy Ryan Hopkins in the building said, the only thing I hope is that we weren't wrong about last year's team and a few moves will right the ship. Best case scenario for a start, last year was crap. Just throw it away. And it was a throwaway year, if you will. My guy D-Town real quick. No bad news about our O-line. And the best thing about the O-line is, man, they practiced them and pushed them. They didn't really reserve them any. No, they're good to go. Let's go. Most important to the team, their success or failure will be felt on both sides of the ball. Fair enough.
Brian asked about Ben McAdoo. It's hard to say right now. I mean, I'm sure he's going to contribute some. It's kind of funny. You get to see different things at training camp that you just would never imagine. Today we did a hurry up offense with Dak throwing the ball to Ben DiNucci and Cooper Rush. Just kind of fun, like seeing it. Like you don't get to see things like that, and you imagine that they're always under receivers, and it's just a quarterback drill. So they were taking turns doing that, quickly running up to the line and doing that. Right. So I don't know. I hope he influences the offense in a positive way. Yeah, I don't know how much he will.
I think the to Brian's question, I think the biggest thing is, as much as I bang my head against him about Kellen Moore last year, was from the 35-yard line in, he would just call these wonky plays, these end arounds or double rounds or different things or whatever. And for me, and where I really chastised Mike McCarthy last year was, you've been a play caller a long time in this league. You should look at Kellen Moore as a young play caller and smack his hand, tell him the stove is hot. Don't do that. And I think McAdoo is here to help facilitate that. Now we'll see how that plays out. That's where we're at. My guy Dominic Toast said, "Do you think we are going to sign someone mid-season?" Hold on. Wait. Let me look. Trust me, I got something up here. Hold on, Matto. I got something up here. All right, Matto, you give me the option. I got Tom Landry and I got a Santa Gnome. Which one do you want me to grab? Which one?
Santa and Tom Landry?
Yeah, which one do you want me to grab?
Let's go with Santa. Christmas in July.
Let's go with Santa. Let's go with Santa. Here we go. All right, Cowboys Nation. I got the Santa Gnome here. Look, the Salvation Army present
right there, maybe.
Forget signing somebody midseason. If you're wishing upon a star, we will trade for a defensive player that is of the same ilk of Amari Cooper. How about that? I'll reference Jerry Jones with we need a Charles Haley to put us over the top. There we go. There you go. See, there you go, Dominic. We can do that. I mean, we can do that, and we can make it happen. Again, let's rub the kettle. let's tell Santa to be good to us. And mid-season, maybe we can a Derwin James. I don't know. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Dominique said Derwin James, number 33, and then Mendoza went with Jesse Bates the third. So they're both thinking safety. Safety there.
Yeah,
I'll say this. I mean, do I think we will? Possibly. I hope we don't, because if we do, that means something went wrong at some point. We had an injury or underperforming player. Yeah, let's do that one. Christmas in July. Let's get Aaron Donald. Let's just give him.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
let's do it.
Look, I'll give him Connor Williams and 2 first-round picks for Aaron Donald right now. Neither here nor there. Low key, to be honest, and going back to Jerry referencing Charles Haley, and we need that guy. Then, and the one thing that I've done on this channel, going into our 3rd season.
Oh, Jamal Adams. My apologies.
No, yeah, that's fine. But going to the 3rd season, Matt Owen's 1st season with us, man. Glad to have Matt Owen on. The one thing I've said from day one of doing this channel and whatnot till now, I am still waiting to see. Jerry Jones sells the snake oil. He says, "You just don't know what I would do to get a championship." Man, don't talk about it. Be about it. Show me. This defense is close. I don't know if it's there yet, Matt. I don't know if it's there, Matt. What do you think? Do you think the defense is there yet?
No, honestly, I don't. I would like to see them, but I don't think that they would be.
Right. So, but if we added a Charles Haley to a Charles Haley type to this defense.
It's interesting you asked that, because Brian's question makes me wonder if Jerry was being way more literal than what we thought when he said a Charles Haley type, as in a pass rusher. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Jerry was being very literal with us. Like, I need a Charles Haley, meaning let's go get a pass rusher. Let's go get Von Miller or whoever. I don't know.
Yeah, to me,
I think he means more like impact-wise, but
right. To me, I think if anything, the Charles Haley comment was trying to influx Randy Gregory. I think that's what that comment was from, because Jerry's always 2 levels deep. It's not surface level. It's about whatever. I think it's that, but I also buy that Jerry Jones thinks he needs an impact guy. He's not going to say Deion.
Right.
Deion got him 1. Charles Haley got him 3, though. Yeah, so you need the war daddy or whatever. War daddy doesn't have to be a defensive pass rusher, if you will. We look at this team. Again, for me, when it comes to the Cowboys, and like I said, currently right now, going into camp, after the first day of camp even, I have the Cowboys 10-7, winning the division at 10-7. Going forward, how this defense performs, I can adjust that. But I have yet to see, I'm not talking about 25 years, guys. I'm just going to talk about the past 3 years, 4 years. I have yet to see the Cowboys as an organization, front office, take the chips at Vegas, push them to the middle. And until they really do that, hopes, dreams, wishes, 8 defensive guys in flux, like Louis Riddick talks about it today, the whole 9. If they're very serious, because this offense is good to go. G to G. It's good to go. It's ready. This is a Super Bowl, barring injury. This offense is Super Bowl ready. And maybe look, how about this? We are going to get the best version of Zeke. Forget 2016. In my opinion, this is about to be hold on, Matt. You ready? Generational Zeke that I've talked about, that we've argued about before. This is what we're about to get from him. We have CeeDee Lamb and these guys or whatever. Dak's back, whatever. The old line's back. The stars have a line offensively man, look, I love Parsons. I love what they've done defensively to a certain extent, but you don't have that guy. Are you willing to go out here and do what you have to do to go get that guy? If Jerry is going to continuously tell us and sell us on, you just don't know what I do. He's talked about checks before. We know he'll write a check. But he said, you just don't know what I would do to go do that. Then you should go do that. Whatever that missing piece, Charles Haley piece is, and there's guys that are available, then they should go do it and make it happen. Until then, hey, man, I'm hopeful. I'm wishful. I'm ready for the ride. But until this organization pushes those chips in the middle, man, Matto, I'll let you respond and we'll get out of here, man.
No, it's a very valid critique, and it makes me wonder. Again, we're just throwing out names on who it could be. We play right before our bye week, the New England Patriots, and they have a cornerback that's been linked to Dallas. Maybe the guy that we go after, the Charles Haley type, is a cornerback who's a veteran leader, who's still only 30 years old and has some tread left in his tires. Maybe we just say, hey, we'll take Stephon Gilmore. Don't worry about him going back with you guys. He's safe.
Right.
Who knows? I don't know. Just throwing a name out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, until we actually make that, generational impact on defense, we're going to continuously rely on the offense to carry us.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm thankful we have Dak and Zeke and CD and Cooper and the guys we have in that offensive line in front. But I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense, especially when you have as many young guys as we do. And maybe Parsons is generational. Maybe Gregory has that monster contract year that we want him to have. Maybe Tank in a new system flourishes again and we see him in double-digit sacks. But there's a lot of questions out there. And as much as I feel better about the defense, I can't tell you honestly that I'm confident in a lot of the positional groups. I think we have a lot of linebacker versatility. I'm excited to see it. Yeah. But there's a lot of questions at linebacker. We have guys that we don't know if they can stay healthy and guys we don't know how they're going to fit in this. And then we have defensive linemen that, again, we're seeing maybe Tank has a bounce back year in terms of sacks and continues what he did. And he has a back injury. There's a lot to go through.
Matt, we have more questions on our defensive line, even with Randy Gregory and D-Law. We have more questions on the defensive line. I ain't going to any other position than we do on our entire offense.
100% true. 100% true.
And it's like, that's where we are. So it's like,
how often are you in training camp and you don't even have a pretty confident answer on who your second cornerback and who your fourth corner? Like, we have no clue. We have no clue.
None. Hey, how about this? And you didn't really see Urban in line with the ones today. That was your guy that you got. I was like, well, Urban didn't come through. Wow, that's crazy. Watkins, right. And again, look, the Cowboys are serious, right? The Cowboys are serious. Look, I'll put it out there. I'll say it. I'll down this hill. If they're serious, Dolphins signed Byron Jones, right? I get it. They gave Howard some money and he's been hurt or whatever. That's fine. If you're serious, then do what you got to do to go get Xavier Howard. You try to get Fitzpatrick already. Didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Then call him and go do what you got to do to get Xavier Howard. Are you serious or are you not?
Well, it's
that's
a belief.
What it boils down to.
It's a belief too. Like how much are you really willing to invest in a position to make sure you get it right? Because the Dolphins already had Xavier Howard, who had already had a big season interception-wise and was coming off of an injury. And then they signed Byron Jones. And then immediately after that, they spent a first-round pick on Noah Igbinoghene, I think. Right, I don't know if I pronounced it right. But they spent a first-round pick immediately after signing Byron to go with an already good cornerback. So they were like, we're going to invest what we have to until it's fixed. And Dallas hasn't done that in years at positions. When's the last time we said we invested as many resources as we needed until we got our free safety right or our defensive tackle right? We don't do that.
Welcome to the Stephen Jones era.
Hey, man, you know what, Nix? I like what I have on house. So I like what I have in house.
I like what we have. Look, talent acquisition is a 365-day job. We're working on it.
For other people.
But you know what? That's neither here nor there. We're going way off the path. Day one training camp, it happened. For you, Matt O, if you gave it a grade, and we'll get out here on this, if you gave today's camp a grade, day one, what would you give the camp grade for today?
Oh, today, grade for day one, an A+. Dak's back, Tyron's back.
Oh, yeah.
Collins is back.
Oh, yeah.
What else do I need to say? I mean,
Zach Martin's back.
We only have KZ didn't start on the PUP list. I mean, what else can you say? Like, we had the guys we wanted there. Obviously, not having taken Amari is kind of a bummer, but they'll be there. We didn't have any major
which is
injuries
funny,
for like
which
key
is funny
players. And
because I was saying, which is
A
funny
plus.
because
And not only that, real quick, we were the only team out there today. NFL Network had no choice but to air our footage. All the other teams in our division had no choice but to hear about the Cowboys.
Hey,
So
man.
A plus all day.
Yeah, keep them lights on. And look, and going to D-Law, he still did some individual drills, by the way.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he still stuck out there, did some individual drills. So, yeah, I memean, for me personally, definitely, I think he can. We just got to wait and see. But for me personally, yeah, definitely A plus. Dan Quinn walked through the door and showed everything that we heard is real. I think that's pertinent. I think that's a huge positive. I think that we saw Mike McCarthy be loose and walk through that door as well. I saw Dak drop a multitude of dimes, ladies and gentlemen, and was no gimp, no nothing on it. I love seeing Zeke, what he's doing. I love the Parsons movement. Yeah, Nashawn Wright, I'll eat the crow. I'm ready to eat the crow on number 99. Draft pick, that is. So, yeah, A plus for sure. Now, tomorrow's a new day. And we'll bounce back and we'll see what it is. But, man, we appreciate y'all rocking with us. We went a little long. We were supposed to be out here at 10:30. Maddo, I'm sorry. We got here about 15 minutes late.
It's good. I was having fun. The chat was good, man. Thank you guys for all the contribution. I mean, it's a late night show, and you guys had a lot out there, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no ifs or buts about it. Again, everybody on Facebook, by all means, take your ass over to YouTube, Star Gang Podcast, hit the sub, hit the bell. If you're on YouTube, by all means, we're 6 grand strong on Facebook. Come join the comment. I share content. Matt Owen, all of us, we share content all day during training camp with videos and whatnot. Star Gang is the dadgum Facebook group. Make sure you go through and follow the page as well as we do our shows. And, of course, on YouTube. Twitter. Come follow me at your guy, Nix, _ in between. My guy, Matt Owen, the professor.
Appreciate it. Ryan, your comments still show up here, so wherever you're contributing from, man, we appreciate you guys joining either way. Thanks for jumping in. You can find me on Twitter, Professor O _NFL. I sometimes have spicy takes, sometimes I drop some random statistics and stuff for you.
I'm gonna tease this. You did some work on this run the damn ball versus air it out shit.
I did.
We're gonna get together. We're gonna get that up on the YouTube page.
We are,
this weekend.
So just so you guys know, as a quick little teaser, I decided, because there's a lot of talk on balancing the offense out and what that may look like for the Cowboys. So I just wanted to see, what does that look like on a macro level? Let's look at the last 10 Super Bowl champs, the last 10 Super Bowl losers, and the 2 AFC, NFC conference championship teams. So the top 4 in each year, to see what that looks like, to see if they're balanced or not, who was, who wasn't, who won, who didn't. So it's interesting. Nothing groundbreaking, and keep in mind, defense, injuries, coaching, a lot of other stuff goes into it. It's just a matter of how consistent these teams committed to running or passing, and we'll get that out there soon.
Before the end of the weekend, we'll get it up on the Star Gang YouTube page and get it cracking. Stay tuned. We're going to do a lot more of the coverage on training camp and moving forward. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Hey, man. Peace. Quest for 6.
Cancel Rowdy.
Cancel Rowdy. And we're officially on the train.